Shalom, shalom, and welcome back to the broadcast. Today is Wednesday, October 25th, 2017. I'm your host, Sean, and the website is www.scriptureandprophecy.com. Today, we are ready to read Genesis chapter 24. Now, yesterday we read 23, which dealt with the death of Sarah. And I even, if you missed it, I even went in and showed you what the book of Jasher has to say about that situation and Sarah's interaction with Satan, which is a very, very, very interesting story. So you might want to go back and listen to that one if you haven't. This particular chapter, chapter 24, it's a little bit of a longer chapter, but it shouldn't take us too long. And it deals with Abraham's sending his servant Eliezer out to find a wife for his son Isaac. But he doesn't want him finding a wife amongst the Canaanites. He wants him to go back to Abraham's homeland and find a wife for Isaac there. And what I love about this story is that it demonstrates great faith, really great faith in the Father. It demonstrates great loyalty and friendship of this servant. I mean, his dedication to his master Abraham is amazing. And we could all use a friend or a number one guy, a number one go-to person like Eliezer. And so anyway, that's what we're going to be discovering today. Genesis chapter 24. Let's begin. Now Abraham was old and well on in years, and Jehovah had blessed Abraham with everything. And Abraham said to his servant, the elder of his household who controlled all that was his, place now your hand under my thigh, and I will have you swear by Jehovah, God of heaven and the God of the earth, that you not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell. Rather, to my land and to my kindred shall you go and take a wife for my son Isaac. The servant said to him, perhaps the woman shall not wish to follow me to this land. Shall I take your son back to the land from which you departed? Abraham answered him, beware not to return my son to there. Jehovah, God of heaven, who took me from the house of my father and from the land of my birth, who spoke concerning me, and who swore to me, saying, to your offspring will I give this land. He will send his angel before you, and you will take a wife for my son from there. But if the woman will not wish to follow you, you shall then be absolved of this oath of mine. However, do not return my son to there. So here we have Abraham. He's asking the servant here, let's make an oath to me that you'll go to the land of my fathers and you will bring back a wife for my son Isaac. And Eliezer, he's like, well, what happens if the woman won't follow me? Should I take your son back to that land? And Abraham makes this point several times within just a few verses. Absolutely not. Because Jehovah God has promised that this land that we're in right now, that we're possessing, it'll go to my inheritance. And so this is the land, this is where Isaac needs to be brought up. So make sure you go and get a wife from there, but absolutely do not take my son Isaac back to there. Verse 9. So the servant placed his hand under the thigh of Abraham, his master, and swore to him regarding this matter. Then the servant took 10 camels of his master's camel, and set out with all the bounty of his master in his hand, and made his way to Aram Naharim, to the city of Nahor. He made the camels kneel down outside the city towards the well of water at evening time, the time when the women who draw water come out. And he said, Jehovah God of my master Abraham, may you so arrange it for me this day that you do kindness with my master Abraham. Behold, I am standing here by the spring of water, and the daughters of the townsmen come out to draw water. Let it be that the maiden to whom I shall say, please tip over your jug so that I may drink, and who replies, drink, and I will even water your camels. Her will you have designated for your servant, for Isaac, and may I know through her that you have done this kindness with my master. And It was when he had not yet finished speaking. Suddenly, Rebekah was coming out. So here we have Abraham's servant getting on his knees before the creator of the universe and praying for his master Abraham. This is what I'm talking about. Like, this is the ultimate friend, ultimate servant. And I need this man's kind of faith, because wouldn't we all want to have prayers answered like this? And it's, he gets on his face, he prays to Jehovah God, and even has these crazy stipulations like, hey, if this is from you, then would the scenario play out like this? And it says, and when he had not even finished speaking, he wasn't even done praying yet, he was still in the middle of prayer, Rebekah came out. Man, I need prayers like that answered in my life while I'm speaking. The prayer's being answered. Great faith, and obviously in the will of God. When you're walking in the will of God, you're going to see your prayers answered because you're already doing the will, right? All right, let's move on. She, who had been born of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, and the wife of Nahor, brother of Abraham, with her jug upon her shoulder. Now the maiden was very fair to look upon, a virgin, whom no man had known. She descended to the spring, filled her jug, and ascended. The servant ran towards her and said, "Let me sip, if you please, a little water from your jug." She said, "Drink, my lord." And quickly she lowered her jug to her hand and gave him to drink. When she had finished giving him to drink, she said, "I will draw water even for your camels until they have finished drinking." So she hurried and she emptied her jug into the trough and kept running to the well and drawing water, and she drew for all his camels. The man was astonished at her, reflecting silently to know whether Jehovah had made his journey successful or not. And it was when the camels had finished drinking, the man took a golden nose ring. Its weight was a beka, and 2 bracelets on her arm. 10 gold shekels was their weight. And he said, "Whose daughter are you? Pray tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night?" She said to him, "I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor." And he said to him, "Even straw and feeds is plentiful with us, as well as a place to lodge." So the man bowed low and prostrated himself to Jehovah. He said, "Blessed is Jehovah, God of my master Abraham, who has not withheld his kindness and truth from my master. As for me, Jehovah has guided me on the way to the house of my master's brothers." The maiden ran and told her mother's household according to these events. Rebekah had a brother whose name was Laban. Laban ran to the man outside the spring. For upon seeing the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's hands, and upon his hearing his sister Rebekah's words, saying, "Thus has the man spoken to me," he approached the man, who was still standing by the camels by the spring. He said, "Come, O blessed of Jehovah. Why should you stand outside when I have cleared the house and places for camels?" So the man entered the house and unmuzzled the camels. He gave straw and feed for the camels and water to bathe his feet and the feet of the men who were with him. Food was set before him, but he said, "I will not eat until I have spoken my piece." And he said, "Speak." Now, before I continue on, I just have to point out, man, what hospitality, what godly people. This brother of Rebekah comes out and he says, "Oh, blessed of Jehovah," for starters. So he already knows who Jehovah God is. He knows who the creator of the universe is. And they welcome him. I mean, how many of us in our Western culture, and I'm absolutely looking in the mirror when I say this, would just welcome in a complete stranger, put a bunch of food before them, take care of their animals, and say, "Feel free to stay tonight." You don't even know the person. We don't know that kind of generosity and hospitality here in the United States. And I'm speaking to myself on this. Then he said, "A servant of Abraham am I. Jehovah has greatly blessed my master, and he has prospered. He has given him flocks, cattle, silver and gold, servants and maidservants, camels and donkeys. Sarah, my master's wife, bore my master a son after she had grown old, and gave him all that he possesses. And my master had me take an oath, saying, 'Do not take a wife from my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose the land I dwell, unless you go to my father's house, and to my family, and take a wife for my son.' And I said to my master, Perhaps the woman will not follow me. And he replied to me, Jehovah, before whom I have walked, will send his angel with you and make your journey successful. And you will take a wife for my son and from the family of my father's house. Then will you be absolved from my oath when you have come to my family, and if they will not give her to you, then you shall be absolved from my oath. I came today to the spring and said, Jehovah God, my master Abraham, if you would graciously make successful the way on which I go. Behold, I am standing by the spring of water. Let it be that the young woman who comes out to draw, and to whom I say, Please give me some water to drink from your jug, and who will answer, You may also drink, and I will draw water for your camels too. She shall be the woman who Jehovah has designated for my master's son. I had not yet finished meditating when suddenly Rebekah came out with a jug on her shoulder and descended to the spring and drew water. And then I said to her, Please give me a drink. She hurried and lowered her jug from upon herself and said, Drink, and I will even water your camels. So I drank, and she watered the camels also. Then I questioned her, and I said, Whose daughter are you? And she said, The daughter of Bethuel, son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore to him. And I placed a ring on her nose and bracelets on her hands. Then I bowed and prostrated myself to Jehovah and blessed Jehovah, God of my master Abraham, who led me on a true path to take the daughter of my master's brother for his son. And now, if you intend to do this kindness and truth with my master, tell me, and if not, tell me, and I will turn to the right or to the left. Then Laban and Bethuel answered and said, The master stemmed from Jehovah. We can say to you neither bad or good. Here Rebekah is before you, take her and go, and let her be a wife to your master, son of Jehovah has spoken. And it was when Abraham's servant heard their words, he prostrated himself to the ground unto Hashem. The servant, I have to point this out, have you guys noticed that every time prayers are answered, that this man gets on his knees and praises God? You know, the scriptures say that God inhabits the praises of his people. Do we do enough of that? We should be praising God for every little thing. Praising him, thanking him. Even when it doesn't seem like necessarily a spiritual thing, you know. Money comes in, you can finally buy some groceries. I have to praise God for that all the time. Or, you know, you find yourself, you know, a health thing is answered, or a relationship thing is answered. We should always be getting on our faces before Jehovah and saying, Praise you, God, King of the universe, for you have blessed me this day. And I love this man's attitude and the way he responds to God, and it's no wonder that God blesses and prospers his ways. Look at how he responds and how he acts. This is a righteous man. Verse 33. The servant brought out objects of silver and gold and garments and gave them to Rebekah. And delicious fruits he gave to her brother and to her mother. They ate and drank, and he and the men who were with him. And they spent the night. When they arose the next morning, he said, Send me to my master. Her brother and her mother said, Let the maiden remain with us for a year or 10 months, then she will go. He said to them, Do not delay me now that Jehovah has made my journey successful. Send me, and I will go to my master. And they said, Let us call the maiden and ask her decision. They called Rebekah and they asked her, Will you go with this man? And she said, I will go. So they escorted Rebekah, their sister, and her nurse, as well as Abraham's servant and his men. They blessed Rebekah, and they said to her, Our sister, may you come to be thousands of myriads, and may your offspring inherit the gate of its foes. Then Rebekah arose with her maidens. They rode up upon camels and proceeded after the man. The servant took Rebekah and went. Now Isaac came from going to Beer-lahai, for he dwelt in the south country. Isaac went out to supplicate in the field towards evening. And he raised his eyes, and he saw, and behold, camels were coming. And Rebekah raised her eyes and saw Isaac. She inclined while upon the camel. And she said to the servant, Who is that man walking in the field towards us? And the servant said, He is my master. She then took the veil and covered herself. The servant told Isaac all the things he had done, and Isaac brought her into the tent of Sarah his mother and married Rebekah. And she became his wife, and he loved her. And thus was Isaac consoled after his mother. And so that is the story of how Rebekah comes on the scene. And I just think it's a great story. I just really, really enjoy reading that. And you know, it's one of those arranged marriages that doesn't go wrong. You know what I mean? Like, she's beautiful, and she's a godly woman, and has a servant's heart, as you could see. I mean, she comes up and she works her butt off, you know, while filling the troughs full of water so the camels can drink. And then she sees Isaac, and she's like, "Hey, who is this?" And that servant says, "You know, this is my master." And of course, they get married, and it says that, you know, finally Isaac, you know, his broken heart's healed. He's consoled after the death of his mother. And that is the reading for today. And I pray that it has blessed you and lifted your spirits. And maybe we need to have an attitude of gratitude, right, towards Jehovah, towards our God, towards His Son Jesus, and we need to be praising Him. You want more prayers answered? You want God to be closer to you? You want to be in a closer relationship with the Creator of the universe? Praise Him. And that's something that I'm trying to work on as well. Don't forget about the website, and if you want to bless me and you want to bless my family, that's where you can do that. You can donate, you can send snail mail, you can become a Patreon subscriber at any monthly amount, and it all adds up and it all helps. And it really helps supplement my household financially. So I thank all of you who do that. There's months where we just wouldn't be able to do much at all, where we wouldn't even be able to get groceries if it weren't for you guys. So thank you for all you've done for me. It's way more than I deserve, and I praise Jehovah God, you know, for the blessings that come through this podcast and through this work. It's far more than I deserve. Also, if you would just remember to pray for me and for my family, man, I could really, really use that as well. That's all I got for you today. Lord willing, everything plays out according to plan. I'll be back with you tomorrow for this week's gospel portion, so be looking forward to that. Peace and grace be with all of you, and until next time, God bless.